I must give you a my brief introduction to everyone over here for Anita ji. Anita Bose Pfaff is my opportunity. This is opportunity to everyone to see that we connect with the history. This is reality. We are believing in it. So, Anita ji, first of all, thank you very much for making yourself available with such a short notice of the time and with a brief discussion with Dr. M.I. Patel and Vikram Bhai Patel on our conference calls. So we really appreciate this, what you're doing for our education institute and students and faculty staff of the college. First of all, Anita ji spontaneously agreed for this, and this is the good connections which students will get it in their lifetime opportunity as an I must use the word, these students who are attending today is part of the history connecting, and tomorrow down the lane they will remember that they met someone as a lifetime opportunity, and that is Anita ji. So Anita ji, to let us have today's conversation a very fruitful, and I must use the word, this conversation should be very meaningful. The way Mohan Bhai Patel said in our first conference call that how he remembered his British days and how he participated as a young boy in a freedom fighter. And I must compliment to you and him together when you said, "Oh, I'm very old, 83-year-old, I cannot," and I corrected you that you are the youngest one compared to our Dr. M.I. Patel, the your energy like a teenager. And he used the word in that conference call that what he did as a 14-year boy. So today energy is the same. Let us share that experience with the students community, and we must tell these students that this is an opportunity you all are getting, and you will remember this golden precious treasure talks from the Dr. Anita ji, and you will appreciate that. And in these compliments, I must use the word, all these things go so good, and I see the auditorium is full of the students and dignitaries. If this goes good, I don't want to use the word if, but this will be a very good annual event for the institute like MD College, Mahila College, and students will remember. And I wish trustees and board executives and principals will consider to keep this as a yearly event as the time goes with a valuable input from Dr. Anita ji. So we thank you to everyone. Please, Anita ji, take it over from here. Thank you, everyone.
Please, we've planned the program a little differently since it's a
Thank
college.
you for these kind words, Hemant ji.
No problem.
And
they can't hear me.
Let me turn to all
they
of
can't
you.
Hear me.
And I greet you as Jai
Ma'am,
Hind.
can you hear me?
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind was the
Ranjana, can you
greeting coined by the Indian Legion in Germany.
Hello, am I audible?
By Subhash Chandra Bose.
Wow.
And I'm happy to say when he took command of the Indian...
Madam, can I interrupt you, please? It's a college. The students have prepared some kind of songs and some thing for you, and we start in the way in which the students have planned. So can I please request you to allow the program to go in a the schedule was earlier given also, so we'll go ahead with that. Is that right by you?
Okay, yes, fine. Certainly. Yeah. Thank you.
So, sure.
Thank you so much. I extend my official welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, and who are joining us online. Previously, I wanted to say something like Atiti Devo Bhava, but I only realized that they cannot be Atitis. They are deeply rooted in our own motherland, India. So we begin with Jai Hind. Welcome to this talk. The Indian tradition of evoking and taking the blessings of the Almighty, we recite a shloka for that. Ya kundendu tushar har dhavala, ya shubhravasta vrita,
या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभुदिवै देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा. Thank you. Before moving ahead with the program, I would like to tell you a little about our national song, Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram is not just a song, it is the heartbeat of a nation. Born 150 years ago from the pen of Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Vande Mataram still rises, not from history books, but from our conscious. As long as India breathes, these words will echo, saluting the past, inspiring the present, and shaping the future. Vande Mataram. I request all of you to kindly rise for the national song. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sukhalam Malayaj Sheetalam Sasya Shyamalam Mataram Vande Mataram Shubhrajyotsna Pulakitayamini Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini Sukhadam Varadam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram.
Thank you all. We start with the first presentation of the day. Way back in 1942, Shri Vanshidhar Shukla wrote a song which became a legacy for the Indian Army. It put first the very emotion that India first, Indian first. The person who gave us the slogan, "Give me your blood and I shall give you freedom." The March Past song now adopted by the Indian Army. We start with Kadam Kadam Badhaye Ja. The song is sung by the NCC students. The entire kit has been done by the NCC department. Thank you, girls, and thank you, audience, for participating in this. Now we proceed to the official welcome. I may please request Principal of Shri M.D. Shah Mahila College, Dr. Deepa Sharma, to kindly address the gathering.
Guten Morgen, Germany. Good morning, Germany. A very, very early morning to New Jersey, and good afternoon to all of us present here, to all who have joined on YouTube, to all who have joined on Zoom from Lucknow, from Delhi, from other places, from Mumbai, and to all our esteemed management, esteemed guests, teachers, and dear students. I welcome you all to this program. As you all can see, this program is a very different kind of program. We are, like Hemant Bhai said, we are all living history. This is the moment that you will all capture in your lives, and it is frozen in your lives. And I'm sure 10 years down the line, when you look back, you will not be able to forget today. So, India's freedom struggle was a multifaceted movement shaped by diverse ideologies, strategies, and leadership styles. While the non-violent resistance, non-cooperation methods have been extensively studied, the revolutionary dimension of the freedom struggle has remained comparatively unexplored in academic discourses. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose stands out as a towering figure who challenged colonial authority through bold leadership, international diplomacy, and establishment of Indian National Army. Today has been a special day. In the first half of the day, we had a scholarly discourse, scholarly conference where academicians from Chhattisgarh, Assam, like Ranjana herself said, Lucknow, Delhi, Mumbai participated, and they made paper presentations. Some of the topics that were discussed there and papers were presented. One was Rani of Jhansi Regiment, challenging traditional gender roles and setting a legacy of women's empowerment in India's freedom struggle. Another one was Mahatma Gandhi and Subhash Chandra Bose, a reappraisal. Another one was, I'm only naming first, reading out two, three of them. Subhash Chandra Bose, creation of the Indian National Army. Women in the Indian National Army, a study of the Rani Jhansi Regiment. Rewriting of the margins, history, silence, and memory of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. These were some of the papers discussed, and the scholars, the academicians talked about them, and papers were presented. And we do plan to capture all these papers and preserve the thoughts in the form of a book, which in the trial run, when we were talking to Dr. Anita Bose, she said she might look into the papers, and we'll see what comes out of it. So overall, today has been a journey of learning, deeper reflections, a lesson in humility and self-belief. absolute embodiment of Ekla Chalo Re. And the jewel in the crown is this afternoon session. And as you all know, we have amongst us none other than the daughter of Netaji, Dr. Anita Bose Pfaff. She has joined here from Germany. Dr. Anita was a professor of economics at the University of Augsburg, as well as a politician in the Social Democratic Party of Germany. You can see the pictures. She's been to India earlier many times, as you can see. And she is very close to our hearts, the ones who are sitting here, and many, many, many more, as she is the daughter of a leader whose stories of valor we all have grown up with. I welcome you, madam, to our college on this online mode. And like Mohan Bhai said, it will be a pleasure to have you here personally, if, and let's see when that happens. So welcome to our college. Now, witnessing this momentous event are many illustrious people who are sitting in the audience right now. We have with us Dr. Mohan Bhai Patel, whom, as I said earlier, 97-year-old young man. He is the president of Janaseva Samiti, educationist, industrialist, and a person who this college owes its existence to. In 1965, when Malad was a far-flung suburb, he thought of building a college for women, for all these girls who you are all sitting here in a AC auditorium. At that time, Malad was absolutely rural, and he started a college. And how lakhs and lakhs of girls have studied here. He has made a difference to the society through you all. And when he started this college, there was only BA. Today, as you all know, we have BA, BCom, BMS, artificial intelligence courses, financial market courses, and computer applications, and you name the course, and we have it. So thank you so much, sir, for being present here personally. College has grown into leaps and bounds only because of him. So I want to welcome you here, sir. This is your college, your program. Still, I would like to welcome you to this program. We have with us from New Jersey, where it is around, I think, 4 a.m. in the morning. So he's all decked up at 4 a.m. in the morning. How many of you can get up at 4 a.m. in the morning? So Shri M.D. Patel, he is instrumental in making this program happen. An entrepreneur, Shri Hemant Patel ji of Monroe Township, New Jersey, has been formally recognized for his outstanding contributions to community service, civic leadership, and business development, reflecting years and years of dedicated work. He is vice chairman of Middlesex County Planning Board, president and founder of India-US Forum of Monroe Township, among many, many other roles. I welcome you to our college, sir. And I want to thank you on behalf of everyone present here and the people who are seeing you on Zoom and YouTube for making efforts in connecting us with Dr. Anita Bose Pfaff. Thank you for that. We have here Shri Vikram Bhai Patel, who is Honorary Secretary of Janaseva Samiti and a very resourceful and hands-on person. He is our college's go-to person. So if you need some help in BMC, you go to Vikram Bhai. If you need help in PWD, you go to Vikram Bhai. You need some donations, you go to Vikram Bhai. You need a speaker, you go to Vikram Bhai. In fact, if you need a car, you go to Vikram Bhai. So, sir, I welcome you to this program, and he also, and picnic also. Okay, so everything. So he is actually a go-to person. So I welcome you, sir, to this program. Actually, he only connected us with Hemant Bhai, and that's how the chain happened. So I welcome you, sir, here. Also present here is Dr. Kalpana Dave, our honorary secretary, who is a well-known Gujarati writer and winner of many, many literary awards. And she is the academician among the Manin members. So, madam, I welcome you here. We have with us Vinay Nathani ji, secretary of Keshav Srishti, Shri Leelkanthan Iyer ji, treasurer of Keshav Srishti, Shri Rajesh Chaudhary ji, who is from Rotary Club, and he has helped our college with setting up of a computer lab and beauty lab and leadership camps for students and many others. We also were expecting Shri Sushil Jajuji, who is also closely associated with our college, but right now he's not here. We also have with us Dr. Swati Karve, who is a leading mental health worker, counselor. She's in Detroit, but she's here on a vacation here. And in the vacation, she said, when Dr. Anita is coming here, I cannot not come here. So she's come here, and I welcome you here to our college, madam. We also have she's actually not my friend, but a kind of a mentor, Dr. Krishna Gandhi, who has been the principal of SNDT College at Matunga. And then she was working as a principal in Rutrumbra College also. Many, many years of experience, a very senior person, and a very big writer. So she also writes book, and she writes comedy. So perhaps we'll sit with her and hear some jokes. Typically, I think she writes about her husband, and she says how men can be, what should I say, manipulated or whatever. Okay. So every wife knows how to do it, but we can come to you for guidance, further guidance. We also have Dr. Ranjana Mishra, who is, as we can see from, she's from Lucknow. She is a faculty in our postgraduate department and a very big scholar in the field of history. And she has great command on many areas of modern India. And nowadays she is interested in ancient history and rewriting history. We have with us many people like Shri Jayesh Shukla ji. I can see Bindu Ben, our teachers who have retired, Bharti Ben Sheth. We have our teachers who have retired earlier but have come here personally, and many of them have joined us online. And the teachers who are teaching right now also, and the most important people in the whole scene, the students. This program is for you. You learn from it and change your lives. And that is, I'm sure, Netaji also would have wanted. So I welcome you all to this program, and thank you. So let's see how the program goes now. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for those kind words. It sets the tone right for the program ahead. It is a great privilege to introduce the next person in line. Before that, could I request the dignitaries to please join us on stage? Meanwhile, can we play the AV, please? I request the dignitaries. The AV that gives some glimpses of the hero that we are talking about today. With a loud applaud, let us welcome President Jan Seva Samiti, Dr. M.I. Patel. So good afternoon. Shri Vikram Bhai Patel, Dr. Kalpana Devi Madam. We are going to witness a history. That's true. We are a part of history. And we are going to hear somebody talk who's only 17 years old with 80 years of experience, if I may address him that way. 17 years old and 80 years of experience. So we want those 80 years of experience to be capsulated in words. We welcome Mohan Bhai sir and share his thoughts on this program.
Thank you, madam. And thank you for all the nice words that you have been speaking about me. All the principles there, the compare and all that. So what we are talking about Subhash Chandra Bose. I remember the songs that we used to sing around 42, 43. चलेगा नहीं पकड़ के रखा है चलो तो ये there was one was already stuck here and we heard there was another I know जवानों वीरता की आई कसों की आज तुम शेरों इधे रखो वतन की दाद तुम शेरनी के पूतों इधर से क्यों डरो मरना भी है तो वीरता की मौत से मरो आए हाथ में तुम्हारे आज भारती की लाज तुम इधे रखो वतन की लाज ये गाते थे हम गाते थे This is what we were saying. Subhash Chandra Bose was our hero. Very unfortunate incidents happened in his life. I remember one. I was only 10 years then, but I was connected in a way, small way, with the political life of the country. Because my mother was a freedom fighter. And she took part in the sort Satyagraha, Namak Satyagraha. And I was there with her, 8 months old in her. So, about that time, there was a good atmosphere of political atmosphere of freedom fights and all that. And about Subhash Chandra Bose also. 1938, I remember Haripura Congress, the convention that met in Haripura near Bardoli. And Subhash Chandra Bose, he was the president of the Congress. He made a statement that we are fighting for freedom. Azadi ki ladat hai. And it need not be by non-violence. We have to win the fight. And if necessary, we have to use arms to fight the British. And of course, Gandhi ji, Gandhi ji and which is where Sardar Patel, which is where Jawaharlal Nehru, so he was isolated. Subhash Chandra Bose was isolated, alone. And so Gandhi ji put a candidate against Subhash Chandra Bose to have him down from the Congress. And who was the one? Dr. Pattabhi. But do you know what happened? Even Gandhi, he lost. Subhash Chandra Bose won. All the Burma then, Brahmadesh, was with India, with him. So Pattabhi was a South Indian. And yet, most of the South Indians voted for him. So he won and got re-elected. Gandhiji admitted that it is my defeat. But what happened was, he was isolated. everybody almost boycotted him. And he was so alone that in 1939, when the Congress met again in Tripura, he was bedridden and he presided over the Congress there from the bed. Yet nobody went to see him. None of these big leaders of ours whom we respect and whom we worship did not even bother to go to see him. The British saw this. They saw the speech in the Congress. They saw how Subhash Chandra Bose was isolated, almost thrown out from the Congress. So they arrested him. They could arrest him in 1939. They threw out the Korea. Now what was it? Nothing but an excuse only to arrest him. They arrested.
With a much further ado, am I audible now, ma'am? Yes. With I give it to the speaker of the moment, Dr. Anita Bose Pfaff. Ma'am, could you please continue? We're eager to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohan Bhaiji, Dr. Sharmaji, distinguished guests, and of course, first and foremost, faculty and students of the college. Thank you very much for this invitation. And let me start with a few personal words to Mohan Bhaiji. I think we are so privileged to have you share some of the personal memories that you had, and the memories you had of the freedom fight and of Netaji specifically. Thank you for your kind words. I would just want to digress on one issue. You said Hitler did nothing wrong for India. I think that Hitler did some things right for India, but he did a lot of things wrong for humanity and also for Indians. Let me just give a small anecdotal example. For example, under the Hitler regime, some of the Indian soldiers and civilians there wanted to marry German women, and that was prohibited because Indians were considered an inferior race, and the German ladies were called to some of the authorities and bawled out for wasting the valuable German blood on Indians, on foreigners. And one of those ladies was a quarter Jewish, and she said, I was not aware that I was so valuable. But in fact, Netaji, as one of the last things that he did before leaving Germany, intervened on account of two of these proposed marriages and got the permission for these two to get married. And so just as an example, that the Germans were not all that gracious at the time. But of course, you are quite correct that given this general situation, I think Germany gave more support to India than one might have expected. But of course, it was also, as politicians always have to act as self-interest to some degree. But let me get back to the topic. Thank you for Mohan Bhaiji for sharing your memories. I think it is a great thing that we can still have people of your youth active enough and lively enough to share these ideas with us. Yes, I just mentioned before that Jai Hind was a greeting phrased by the Indian Legion in Germany. And of course, it's not so well known, but a small part of the Indian independence struggle led by Netaji was carried out in Germany. Of course, the plans originally had been greater. There was an idea that Germany might be able to help invade India and free India, and the fortunes of war turned in a different way. But in any case, Netaji started a military activity there, and the Indian Legion was part of the German army also, but also an independent setup. For example, it was unusual that a foreign legion would not only swear allegiance to Hitler, but the Indian Legion also swore allegiance to Netaji. So it was certainly a more independent and more, I would say, prestigious role that they played there, even though the Indian Legion in Germany did not get very actively involved in any fighting. In fact, Netaji had been quite adamant about the fact that they should not be sent to the Eastern Front fighting the Soviet Union, but only fighting the British. Well, so let us get back to Jai Hind. Luckily, Jai Hind was also adopted by the armed forces of Free India as a form of greeting. And at least this was a small recognition of the INA's and the Indian Legion's contribution. I think it was very unfortunate for the soldiers of the INA that they were not accepted into the army of India. In fact, in Pakistan, they were allowed to become members of the army. And many of the very simple soldiers of the INA were very disappointed insofar that they even then landed up in poverty. It took decades, I think till the 70s, that they were even recognized as freedom fighters, which meant a certain amount of personal recognition and also certain economic advantages. Now let us think back of what happened then and what happens today, because you students are young people. With you lies the future. And of course, we have to keep in mind that times have changed radically since then. Let me just point out a few things about Netaji's activities, which we have to see in the light of the different historic context. Netaji became mayor of Calcutta when he was a very young man. He was just in his early 30s at the time. And if you look at his activities at that time, he had been executive officer of Calcutta before. His activities in some ways were unusual for those days, but they certainly were also different from what a mayor or an executive officer would do today. After all, the degree of Indian self-administration was very limited at the time. The British had started this first on a local basis, then later on provincial basis. The federal part never came about because it was suspended by the British themselves. But nonetheless, for those days, Netaji took a very unusual approach, because actually, I think what was expected of the executive officer and of the mayor was to be a more ceremonial figure. But he took active steps with regard to healthcare, with regard to education and so on, to improve the city of Kolkata at the time. But since he was also too active as a freedom fighter at the same time, during his tenure as mayor and as executive officer, he landed in jail. And partly he ran as the administration out of jail in Calcutta. So that was an unusual thing. The second aspect I just wanted to remind you of is Netaji. And of course, Mohan Bhaiji has mentioned some of the happenings at the time. And it is always remembered that there was a certain rift between Gandhiji and Netaji. And one might say Gandhiji was quite vindictive, I think, in vis-a-vis my father. And Mohan Bhaiji mentioned this with regard to the lack of sympathy for Netaji shown by other leaders as well when he was a very sick man. On the other hand, I think looking back today, we have to see that the freedom fighters of those days were all working for the same goal. Some of them chose different means, and of course, Gandhiji had a lot of influence on others. And in that sense, maybe Netaji differed from some of the other leaders, that he had his own ideas and he stuck with them and was not going to be hushed up on some of them methods and that could be taken. But in any case, today, I think we should look at the communalities rather than at the differences. And let me quote two things. It was Netaji who called Gandhiji father of our nation, and it was Gandhiji who called Netaji a patriot of patriots. So I think there was also a change in the attitude that Gandhiji had taken, and we can only speculate that if Netaji had still been around in the independence struggle after during the time of partition, whether together with Gandhiji they might have made a difference and made it possible for the either whether they could have made it possible to prevent partition, or at least if they couldn't, whether they would have had an impact on improving the relationships between the two countries. Let me mention a third aspect of, say, government in a different historic context. Netaji proclaimed a provisional government of India in exile in 1943. And of course, we cannot compare that with the normal operation of a country at the time. India had practically hardly any territorial sovereignty. In fact, it was only Swaraj and Shahid, or Andaman and Nicobar Islands, who were handed over to India by Japan at the time. And of course, the main function of the government was waging war against Britain, and not an operation of a normal administration with all the aspects that the government has to carry on today. But nonetheless, I think all these years, Netaji had always been thinking ahead of what India would have to do later on. And to put it in a very simple way, he was envisaging a secular state of a socialist kind. And even though he was a very devout person, a devout Hindu, as you all know, for him, religion was the private thing, and he always felt that the state should be secular and that there should be respect between the different religious groups, etc. So, okay, then I wouldn't want to take up too much time with this. Of course, you have partly covered these things in your papers in the morning, I'm sure. It seems that Netaji held a very great fascination for people. Mohan Bhaiji mentioned that already, and I just would like to mention also that I have heard from other people. I've only seen Netaji once from a distance. It made a difference for me. And one of the INA officers in Mandalay, after the retreat from Imphal and Kohima, which must have been a very traumatic experience for the soldiers, also the women soldiers, by the way, said when he was asked what he got for all his suffering, he said, Netaji embraced me. So Netaji did have a very great personal impact. I never knew my father personally. I was 4 weeks old when he saw me first and last. So I can only report what others said in this respect. Now, let me just mention the headlines, so to say, on some of the aspects. There are some things which are controversial about Netaji. One, some people claim, well, he was a fascist and so on. He collaborated with all sorts of undesirable people. I mentioned Hitler before, and Mussolini and Tojo were not precisely the ideal persons, and many considered them war criminals, etc. But I will ask you, if India wanted to have support from another country, which other country would have been able and willing to do it at the time? Approaching these leaders was not a matter of affection or anything, or even of meeting of minds, but there was very little else. I mean, Netaji also would have liked the Soviet Union's support, when he left India in 1941, Mohan Bhaiji mentioned his escape from India at the time, which was a very adventurous and dangerous escape. He first tried to turn to the Soviet Union when he was in Afghanistan, but the Soviet Union was not willing to support him. So it was really the only choice he had, approaching the German and the Italian governments at the time. And the Soviet Union only allowed him to pass through to get to Germany. And so it was not the most desirable support, but there just was no other country that would have supported India's independence at all. And of course, it was more Japan than Italy and Germany that ended up supporting India in a more material way also. The other controversy, which I would like to mention shortly, is about his death. There were many people who did not believe that he died in a plane crash in 1945 at the end of the Second World War in the Eastern theater of war. I think it's fairly well established now that he did. At the time, of course, the investigations were not made public. But later on, the 50s, 60s, etc., there were several reports published about earlier investigations of 1945, 1946. And we can all accept the fact that he died at that time. There were eyewitnesses, survivors of the plane crash who lived for many years, who gave testimony to that. Now, let me get to another aspect. What role was assigned to Netaji by later governments? Of course, since the reports about not only Netaji's death, but also about the role that the INA played in Britain in deciding on India's independence, became known only much later. I mean, many of the documents are often kept confidential and only published after 30 years or even more. And when these documents became published, it became evident that, in fact, the INA, even though they lost the war, they won the information battle. The INA was defeated in Imphal and Kohima in 1944, and they had to retreat also because Japan eventually had to surrender at the end of the Second World War. You all remember the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was sort of the last straw to the end of Japan's battle, and that also meant the end of the support for India. But Mohan Bhaiji mentioned the 3 officers on trial at Lal Killa, and that was the great mistake of Britain in the informational sector. The British thought that they would sort of convict these 3 officers in lieu of all the other soldiers who had been members of the British Indian Army as traitors. And it turned out that the Indian public did not consider them traitors, but they considered them heroes. So in that sense, the struggle for independence was revived by these trials. And in fact, even the armed forces, the British Indian armed forces, started to mutiny, and Britain could no longer rely on their own military, so to say. And as one of my cousins heard from the last Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten, personally, it was the information battle, so to say, which made the difference. In that sense, it was the INA and Netaji who played a very important role in this. But let us be sensible as scientists also. A certain result never occurs because of just one thing. Particularly success has many fathers and mothers, and very often defeat has few. And the success that India became independent, even though partitioned, certainly can be considered a success. And it could not have happened without the mass movement of nonviolence, but it could also not have happened without the INA's battle with arms. So I think we owe a great thanks and respects to all the freedom fighters. And by all, I mean not only the leaders, because as somebody once said, without Netaji, we are nothing, but Netaji is nothing without his followers. And the same thing happens to goes for Gandhiji, of course, too. If he had been a great leader and nobody would have followed him, he would have had no effect. It's always a combination of these two. The important leaders who inspire people to do more than they would do otherwise, who channel all these forces, and the many, many, many little people who make their individual contributions. And with that, let me turn to what to the students, what I feel that they can do, should do. Of course, I think you all have to be very grateful to Mohan Bhaiji and all the teachers and the other activists which made the education in your college and in your region possible. And possibly without their contribution, some of you would not have become students. You may not have become, would not become academics. And we don't know where you all will go. Some of you may become professors and scholars, and some of you may stop and turn to some other field of activity later on. I would hope, since I think the role of women is changing slowly, but it is changing, it's improving, that most of you will not just become wives and mothers, but will also contribute to the economy and to this to society otherwise, that you would be working as successful professionals, or that you will also contribute to the society with some form of social service that you might provide. And I think the founder of your college is a good example. I mean, he was a professional, he was a successful businessman, and yet he turned to something else as well, and felt that being personally successful was not enough, but contributing something to his society was important too. And I hope you will also take this as an example. But I would also want to point out to you, if you say, oh, Netaji was a great man, or Gandhiji was a great man, or whoever, this is not the role that each and every one of you can take. The times were different. Those were more heroic times than we have today. From fighting for some ideal, we are turning to administering and developing things today. And that also means that the role that each and every one of you can play is different. And also keep in mind, the role that these men played it would just not be practical for everyone as such. Imagine if you were to live in a family which had only people like that. What kind of son would it be who would not be available for his parents when they needed him because he was only dedicated to his country? What kind of husband would he be if he is never available to his family? What kind of father would he be? Of course, we need these people, and we have to thank them. We also have to thank them, their families, for example, for putting up with that. But Netaji and Gandhiji did not support themselves with their own work, although Netaji had a wonderful basis for that. He passed the ICS exam. If he had become an ICS officer, he would have had a well-paid, respected position, could have provided for his parents when they were old, for his wife and children or child. But being a full-time freedom fighter, he needed somebody else to support him. And of course, one of the important people who supported him was his own brother, Chandra Bose, who was also a politician. But he was a very successful lawyer and earned a lot of money as such. But when he was in jail, because he was a freedom fighter as well, of course, his wife had to go begging to others to support her and her 8 children to survive. So what I would like to tell you, try to do something sensible, try to do something selfless, but keep in mind that not everyone can be a Gandhiji or a Netaji. And in that context, I think you can derive satisfaction and success, but also operate as a normal human being in society. I wish you well. I wish you a lot of success and good decisions. And keep up the struggle, which Netaji also started already as a woman. Netaji was convinced that men and women should have equal rights, but he also said they should have equal duties. For example, he set up one of the first, or maybe the first, women's military corps for women. You don't all have to become soldiers, but recognize that if you try, you can be successful, even though throughout the world, it is not made easier for women to be as successful outside their family life. So in that sense, remember all the great men and women and become successful contributors to society in your own right. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. So can I say something for 1 minute?
Yes.
Yes, definitely, sir.
Sure. The very appreciating contributions and conversations from the Anita ji. This is going to be a very valuable information to the students of today, particularly who are paying attention to this batch who is attending and as well as on the YouTube. What the leadership difference between what was going on at that time was Netaji's fearless revolutionary action. That scared definitely Britishers, doesn't mind, but definitely Gandhiji and other leaders couldn't align with that. 2 things happened with that: the sacrifice and discipline in a way which Netaji shown with his spirituality strength. And definitely that made the difference and that made the action, while the process was slow from other side, because you can see that politics was being played in a different way when Gandhiji put his own candidate against Netaji's candidacy. That's a popularity contest going on, not the leadership. So definitely I must contribute my 5 cents based on what I hear to you, and that is a fearless revolutionary leader he was. That was a difference of that time. Thank you very much. And obviously the students will be benefited with this, and they will carry this memory for their life as they are part of this historic event put together by your college. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Netaji, for having spent the time, having spoken so very well to us, having respected our invitation, and we do hope that she will be coming personally to India someday and will be able to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, that
Thank you.
she said to me that she's too old, 83-year-old. And I said, no, you're 83 years young. And I told her at that time, when you will meet another gentleman, young as young and energetic, 97-year young. And today is the day when, Mohan Bhai, You shown your energy with the memory and connected to the freedom fighting movement. And today, Anita ji also share her insight towards that. So it is not a age; it is always energy which counts.
Madam, today through your words, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose ji felt closer, more personal, and more powerful than ever. Called the Prince Among Patriots by Mahatma Gandhi ji, his life challenges us to look beyond time, to act with conviction, lead with a heart, and remember that freedom was shaped by fearless choices and relentless spirit. Madam, you carry not only the legacy of a great leader, but also the grace, intellect, and strength that truly honors it. You have been a great inspiration to us and reminded us that the name is not just inherited, it is carried forward with values. We are deeply honored. Madam, may I request you, could you spare some time to take questions from the audience? Okay. So thank you for being such a wonderful audience. Now we would like to hear your thoughts, reflections, or questions if you have any. If anybody has a question, kindly raise your hand. We have our first question here.
Ma'am, am I audible? I wanted to ask the question that how do you feel as a daughter of being of such a great personality?
Can you repeat your question? It wasn't clear.
How do you feel as a daughter of such a great personality?
So the question is, how do you feel being a daughter of such a great personality?
Yes.
Of course, as a daughter, you can always be grateful if you have parents of whom you can be proud. And I think I can certainly be proud of my parents for different reasons in fathers and mothers' case. On the other hand, you also have to consider the fact that if you have a father like that, you don't have a father. So in a way, for me, he is also the freedom fighter, because I never experienced him as a father. And even if we had lived together, probably he would have fulfilled very few of the normal functions of a father. So I imagine, and I hope for your sake, that your father could play an active role in your life. But of course, even if he had been around, he would have never been able to play a personal role in my life, because he would have been busy with other things. So these two things you have to take into consideration. But of course, one likes to be proud of one's parents and one's family.
Thank you, ma'am. By your answer, we understand that great privilege comes with a great responsibility. Yes. Any more questions? We have two people who have risen their hands.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible? Yeah. Ma'am, I want to ask you that now you're writing a book called Subhash Emily about your mother's life. Can you elaborate some touching moments with us?
My mother was born in 1910. And she died in 1996. That means she lived through two world wars, one as a child and the other one as a young woman. And at least in many parts of the world, we did not experience war during the last 80 years, or not an extensive war that really affected everyday's life like you find today in Yemen or Gaza or Ukraine, or in other parts of the world where everything is destroyed and you have no normal life anymore. But those generations lived through that, and women of that generation lived also through a very interesting life insofar that they experienced a degree of increasing autonomy, and at the same time also increasing responsibilities in some ways. And partly I also want to write about my mother, not only historically as my father's wife and partner, but looking at some of sort of the feminist aspects, I would say, of changing roles of women, which you had during those days. And believe me, when you get as old as I am, you have lived through many of these changes. And I have also taught social policy to students, men and women. And for example, when I taught my female students some of the things that had happened even during my lifetime, say how social policy changed during that period, how the laws changed, they were quite surprised that, which makes you think that a lot happens, but still things happen very slowly, and there are always setbacks again. And this is this is one of the messages I would like to sort of convey, not only sort of as a daughter, but as a social scientist.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else who'd like to ask a question? Okay, this will be the last question. Please pass on the mic. There is one here and there are two more.
Hello.
So her question is that what would be your message for the future generation when you see them admiring Netaji? So what do you think should they look up to now?
Good afternoon, ma'am. So I want to ask you that how do you feel when you see the people of our nation admire him so much, and how we should, how we the youth of our nation should keep his legacy alive in future and in present?
I must say I'm quite fascinated by the fact that Netaji is remembered as he is today by so many people, and in that particular way, because for me the fascinating thing is that he is not only remembered as a historic person, which of course would be normal for an educated person to know something about the independence struggle and the role of amongst others, Netaji, but that he is remembered in a very emotional way. Now, Mohan Bhaiji experienced him during his lifetime. I don't know whether he met him personally, but many of the people who live today never did. He passed away before they ever were born, and nonetheless, they have a very emotional relationship to him, which is fascinating to me how this can happen. But I consider it one of the great things, I think one of the great thank yous to him, that he is remembered that way for the sacrifice he has also made for his country. And I think that the young people of today should try to go back and look at, also in a historic context, look at what happened then and take the positive and the negative experiences from those days. And of course, there's one thing which, as a both as a scholar and as a as a politician, I would say, is one of the great cancers of societies today, and that is corruption. I mean, you have corruption everywhere to a lesser degree, but if corruption becomes too extensive, it destroys the social fabric. And I think the freedom fighters, not only the leaders, but also the simple people of those days, had a much more selfless approach. And I think ultimately made the result possible. And I think today one should also keep in mind that this is very important, that a certain selfless attitude, not only a selfish attitude, needs to be taken because, and of course, today it extends to many more things than it did at the time. For example, we have to think of the environment and many other things which were not in the forefront of those days. But I think the idea is really to consider yourself a member of your family, of course, but also of society and humanity. And as such, whether in a lesser or in a greater degree, you have to take responsibility. And I think these people did at the time. And so I can only encourage you to do that too.
Sure, ma'am. We take the last question, if you please agree to. One of our dignitaries would want to ask you a question. Madam, Mike, first row, please. Audible, ma'am. Please continue.
At the age of nearly 80. But in our time also, Netaji was our hero, superhero. And I have visited Netaji's birthplace at Cuttack also, Orissa. And I have seen the place where, Calcutta, where he escaped from. I just wanted to know whether Bose family has accepted you and your mother.
The greater part of the Bose family did. Very few members did not. In fact, one a nephew of mine, grandnephew of mine, came up with the most stupid idea one could imagine. Since I obviously resemble my father a lot, he once said, I've never met him personally, but somebody reported that to me. He said, yeah, evidently she's a Bose, but she's not Netaji's daughter, which is, of course, absolutely stupid, because if I was a Bose, the only Bose that could have been my father was my father, because there was no other Bose around who could have fathered me, so to say. But by and large, I have received great affection and love from many members of my family. Of course, the most important was my uncle Sharad, but also other members of the family showed that. And it was really a minority who did not. And sometimes in the process of expressing that, we had some very funny experiences.
Ma'am, but that's so much to say about your fierce answers and answering all the questions, even a personal one with a hilarious note. Thank you so much. As we proceed further, Netaji is just not a martyr, but an ideology that nurtures love for our motherland and puts nation first and above all. Truth shall prevail, even if it means standing alone. Song written by Rabindranath Tagore, truly embodies the life of Netaji, a small tribute to Netaji. May I request the girls to please climb up the stage. On the chords, we will have.
যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। তবে একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে। তবে একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে। যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি কেউ কথা না কয়ে, যদি কেউ কথা না কয়ে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা কেউ কথা না কয়ে, যদি সবাই তাকে মুখ ফিরায় সবাই করে বই, যদি সবাই তাকে মুখ ফিরায় সবাই করে বই, তোরি পরে না খেলে, তবে পরে না খুলে, তুই মুখ মনের কথা একলা বলো রে। ও তুই মুখ ফুটে তো মনের কথা একলা বলো রে। যদি তোরা ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি তোরা ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। তবে একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে। কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ।
The beauty of the song, the performance is that most of the girls are non-Bengalis. They don't speak Bengali as their mother tongue. It's not.
Action, well done. Make your own way. Walk on alone. Walk on your own. Walk on solo. Make your own way. We go to the further presentation and the last one for the evening. May I invite Professor Anjana Mishra to give the closing remarks and the vote of thanks.
Respected Dr. Anita Bose Pfaff ji, Dr. Mohan Bhai Patel, Mr. Hemant Patel, Mr. Vikram Bhai, Principal Dr. Deepa Sharma, fellow delegates, colleagues, friends, and dear students. Today, we have been privileged to witness not one voice, but chorus of wisdom. Each erudite has added a unique thread to the rich tapestry of this event. My humble task is to weave these threads together and encapsulate the collective insight. The opening ceremony was eloquently started by our principal, Dr. Deepa Sharma, and she in her scholarly speech said that Netaji remained symbol of sacrifice, courage, and freedom at any cost, and how he challenged the colonial power. Mohan Bhai Patel, in his scholarly speech, said that India's independence was not achieved solely through the path of non-violence. Subhash Chandra Bose adopted a more militant strategy and sought strategic alliance with Axis power. And he also emphasized how he escaped from India to Germany and how Singapore was defeated by the Axis power. The alliance created immense pressure through INA on the colonial rulers and contributed indirectly to the hastening of independence in 1947. The Indian National Army campaigns and trials of Mohan Bhai specifically talked about Dhillon, Shahnawaz, and Sahgal, who inspired widespread unrest, forcing the British to realize they could no longer hold in India. Thank you, Mohan Bhai, for sharing the personal story of Dhillon with us. Dr. Anita Bose spoke of Netaji with profound reverence, blending filial affection with recognition of his towering national legacy. She described Netaji as one of India's most renowned sons who championed secular harmony and envisioned India as a nation where the religions coexist in peace and mutual respect. She emphasized his unwavering commitment to gender equality. She also highlighted how INA's soldiers had to suffer, like once they were defeated, and how they were not given any salary and had to go through all the travails. She also averred that she also praised Mohan Bhai for giving such insightful information. In her words, delivered with quiet dignity from afar, echoes the timeless grace of a daughter who carries forward a patriot flame, illuminating India's soul with the same fierce love her father once kindled the freedom. She also requested students not just to imitate the great leaders, but to carve their own niche in the society at present time. The whole session was followed by heart-touching question-answer session, and that I must say that students will remember it forever. Mr. Hemant Bhai Patel recognized his role as a major catalyst in forcing British to exit India. He also emphasized how Netaji was a fearless leader. The program ended with a tribute to Netaji by a song, Ekla Chalo Re. I have also been assigned a job to give vote of thanks. So as we bring the memorable event to a close, it is my privilege and honor to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of everyone present here. William Arthur Ward had rightly said, feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a gift and not giving it. First and foremost, from the bottom of our heart, we offer our most respectful and loving pranams to you, Dr. Anita Bose Pfaff ji. You are not just an erudite professor of economics, but a living bridge to one of the greatest chapters of India's freedom struggle. As the beloved daughter of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, whose life continues to inspire crores of Indians to dream big, sacrifice selflessly, and love the motherland fiercely, your very presence among us today feels like a divine blessing. We see in you the same indomitable spirit that dignified your illustrious father. Ma'am, thank you for considering our humble invitation, for sharing your thoughts, your smile, and your blessings. Your grace has made this event unforgettable and sacred for every one of us. We feel deeply honored and emotionally touched beyond words. It is with immense pride and profound respect and deep emotion we thank our president, Dr. Mohan Bhai Patel. You are not just the president of our college, but soul of our institution. At this age, when most people rest after a lifetime achievement, you still grace us with your wisdom, your strength, and your unwavering commitment to education and values. We are really grateful to you, Mohan Bhai. Our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Hemant Patel ji. Today, it would not have been the same without the extraordinary support and generosity of Mr. Hemant ji, who went above and beyond to make our distinguished guest presence possible. We are profoundly grateful to you, sir, for your contribution for making this occasion special and unforgettable. Our special thanks to Vikram Bhai. Sir, your tireless efforts and meticulous planning have turned our ordinary day into a historic and heart-warming event. We are also immensely grateful to our dynamic and visionary principal, Dr. Deepa Sharma, who not only conceptualized and organized this entire program with such dedication and perfection, but also made it possible for all of us to be present here, either online or offline, in the presence of such august personalities. Thank you, Deepa Ben, for giving us this priceless gift. My sincere thanks go to our respected teachers, staffs, technology person, non-teaching staff who have worked behind the scene with love and sincerity. Our special thanks and blessings to the students and volunteers and NCC cadets whose energy and enthusiasm brought life to every moment. But above all, today we live with one overwhelming feeling, gratitude to God for allowing us this rare moment to be in the presence of a living history embodied in you, Dr. Anita Bose Pfaff. As we bid you farewell, we carry your blessings, your inspiration, and reminder that a true greatness lies in humility, service, and love for nation that radiate even at this beautiful age in you. Thank you, ma'am, from the depth of our hearts. Thank you, all the dignitaries. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind. Jai.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We rise for the national anthem.
शुभ आशीष मागी गाही सब जय गाजा जन जन मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind. Thank you.
Jai Hind.
Jai
Thank you,
Hind.
everyone. Thank you, Anita ji. Thank you, everybody.
Sir, before you could leave the meeting, Dr. M.I. Patel would address.
Can you hear me now?
Ji.
Then your attention is here.
Yeah.
So, invite you and looking forward to your real visit to India once again. Okay?
Thank you.
We have seen you today in a picture. But next time, maybe physically you will be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Girls can vacate the hall. You can use the left exit, please. We end the meeting. Thank you very much for your patience and joining us today.